Many people don't realize that parole in the federal system was abolished in the 1980s, right during the height of the war on drugs. So when a judge looks at you and says that you receive a life sentence, that means you will die in prison.
I've got a case where the man walked up to a parked car, shot the victim in the face, and he got 6 years in prison. So 6 years in prison for shooting a man in the face, as opposed to life in prison for having 3 drug charges. It just doesn't seem to balance out there.
The documentary, The Third Strike, follows a group of women known as the Decarceration Collective. Their mission is to free people unfairly sentenced to life in federal prison for non-violent drug crimes. Together, they commuted the life sentences of more than 40 people.
Attorney Maya Angelou is featured in the documentary and is with us this morning to tell us more. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, we mentioned the 80s, and of course in the 90s there was the crack cocaine situation, and there was this demand from the public to do something, and everybody was going to prison. And that was from both Democrats and Republicans. Do we only see the unfairness in hindsight? What is your assessment of that time period, and what have we learned?
I certainly think that we had a very legitimate and real public health crisis with the drug epidemic. The problem was that our response was unscientific and largely ineffectual. And what we saw were whole communities being defunded of human potential, people being locked up for very long sentences that were mandatory, and judges had no discretion, right, to look at the human being who was standing in front of them. So in hindsight, what we did was locked up a bunch of people formulaically. And going forward, it's my hope and my work and commitment to make sure that we're not forgetting about those people as the law evolves and changes.
That's going to be my next question is, what is your assessment of current sentencing guidelines? We heard the gentleman in the clip that we just played saying this one guy got 6 years for shooting someone in the face. Another nonviolent offender was put away for life. What do you think the current situation is right now?
I think that we've seen some progress in the last 10 years. Yeah. I think that that's largely driven by the American consciousness and awareness of the unfairness of prior drug policies. But I think we have a long way to go. One place where I hope to see more movement is as the laws improve, that they are applied retroactively, right? So that people who were sentenced unfairly get to go back into court. And in some of the recent laws, that hasn't been the case. I also think that it's very unfair that people are serving life in prison for marijuana while we have marijuana dispensaries on several corners in several cities across the country. And so it's my hope that we see more of that, a fair and balanced response.
We've been talking about laws. What about representation? Public defenders are certainly an important role, but from everything I hear, they're constantly understaffed and underfunded.
Yeah, I was a public defender there in Chicago for a decade. I was a federal defender, and that was what, ignited my passion to represent people who could not afford a lawyer and to be the best lawyer that I could be for them. I do think that more resources need to be channeled towards representation of people who can't afford counsel, and also reentry and programs so that incarceration isn't the only system that pays attention to people.
What happens after this is all done? Once if you get a sentence commuted, someone who spent decades in prison, they're not pardoned though. What happens going forward?
For their sentence, or
just in terms of their lives, just what you've seen in terms of the people that you've worked with.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. We see people walking out of prison, but the story is often, the best part of the story is what happens with them when they're released. One of the people you'll see in the film is Edward Douglas. He got out of prison and started an intramural softball league there on the south and west sides of Chicago. One of my first persons that I freed under President Obama was a man named Reynolds Wintersmith, who became a high school guidance counselor and led restorative justice circles on the west side doing conflict resolution. Tyree Bell started his own trucking company. And so I think the point of the film is to see that we're not only unlocking people, but we're really unlocking the human potential that they carry with them. And that's something that we all benefit from.
My Angel Cody, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And the Third Strike is available to watch. For more information, head to thirdstrikecampaign.org. Excuse me. And you can also follow My Angel on Instagram at LawyerMyAngel. All right, Paul.